common misconceptions about AI and how are they addressed with portfolio companies?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. One common thing I've seen in conversations with especially business leaders, but sometimes also technical folks who've worked with classical ML, but not so much with newer AI ways, especially foundation models, is the idea that they're going to self improve by seeing more data. In theory, it would be possible if we can continue training these gigantic models in terms of compute and data forever to do the very specific task that we mean them to do in our context. But in practice, we often take pre existing, pre trained models and then we continue doing something on top of them. Usually, we would build a pipeline on top of them and not even retrain them with our own data. We could take a fine tuning approach, but it's not the most feasible track for a lot of enterprises because it would require a lot of maintenance. You would give up on a lot of the generalizability of outputs. You can tune them very specifically to your data and your task, but you would also need to keep maintaining them, keep them up to date. In terms of source citations, if that's important for your use case, it will be a lot harder, if not impossible, compared to taking a RAG approach to your use case. And if that's what you're going with and you are using a pre-trained model and just adding your data as context to model outputs, it's not going to self-improve quite in the way that your classic machine learning models that
Hmm.
distinguish dogs and cats would do by just providing them more pictures of dogs and cats that you see in the real world. And it's also not the case that our objective functions are as targeted as they used to be. Estimating loss on the particular task that you're about to achieve when the output is so open-ended and so verbose is quite a different task. So the question of how to evaluate model outputs becomes a lot more interesting and a lot more crucial, but also less automatic. And some of the ways we've seen people tackle that is by collecting feedback and trying to tune different essentially hyperparameters of these pipelines. So it could be your chunking strategy, it could be your prompt, it could be even updating some of the metrics that you may have going on in the model to kind of, it could be a checklist approach, it could be a matching approach of what you're expecting to see in the model output in like a response to a question that they give compared to some ground truth that you may have had from historical cases or you may refine based on user feedback. There are these different approaches, but it's not going to be a self-improving automatic agentic system almost. No, agentic is the wrong word here, but it's not going to self-improve on its own unless you
Yeah,
either create that feedback loop for self-learning or you just use it to make more manual tweaks yourself in your model.
yeah,
And so it's an important misconception and something that's worth thinking about, not as an afterthought. It's not just a thing you throw at the model at the end, quite like it used to be.